In the streets, a girl used to hunger and abandonment was struggling to hold her only piece of bread for the day. Suddenly she noticed a well-dressed boy lost, crying, and begging for help amid people's indifference. Without hesitation, she gave him her only food, not imagining that this gesture would change her destiny. If you love great stories, please subscribe to our channel and comment where you're watching from. Stay tuned. The frigid Boston winter bit through Lily's worn sneakers as she shuffled along Copley Square. At 13, she had perfected the art of invisibility, a necessary skill for a girl who had called the streets home since she was 8. She pulled her threadbare coat tighter, its frayed edges doing little against the February chill. The red scarf around her neck, her most prized possession, provided her only real warmth. Today had been moderately successful. After hours of searching through dumpsters behind bakeries and restaurants, she had secured a half-eaten sandwich, and more precious than gold, an entire bread roll that hadn't even touched anyone's lips. She had wrapped it carefully in a napkin and tucked it into her pocket. This would be her only real meal today, and she intended to savor every crumb. Lily found her usual bench and sat down, watching the busy Bostonians hurry by in their expensive winter coats and boots. No one noticed her, they never did. She had learned that wealthy people had a particular talent for looking straight through children like her, as if acknowledging her existence might somehow make them responsible for it. As she prepared to unwrap her treasured bread roll, something unusual caught her attention. Amid the sea of hurrying adults was a small boy, no more than 9 or 10, clearly out of place. Unlike Lily, he was impossible to miss. His bright blue designer coat, pristine white sneakers, and the unmistakable gleam of an Apple Watch on his wrist practically screamed money. But something was wrong. The boy was alone, his face streaked with tears, his eyes wide with panic. He stood in the middle of the square, turning in confused circles, his breath forming small clouds in the cold air. People streamed past him, some annoyed at having to sidestep the child, others completely oblivious to his distress. Lily hesitated. Street kids lived by rules, chief among them, mind your own business and stay away from the rich. Getting involved with wealthy people only led to trouble. They assumed the worst about kids like her. But there was something in the boy's face, raw, fear that Lily recognized all too well, that made her break her own rule. She approached cautiously. "Hey, are you okay?" The boy flinched, then looked up at her with red-rimmed eyes. "I can't find Ms. Rebecca. She was supposed to wait right." "Here." His voice trembled as he spoke, and he wrapped his arms around his middle. "I'm hungry and it's cold and I want to go home." Lily glanced around. No frantic adult was searching for a lost child. No security guard had been alerted. Just a rich kid, alone in one of Boston's busiest public spaces. "How long have you been waiting?" she asked, keeping her distance. "I don't know. A long time." The boy's lower lip quivered. "My stomach hurts." Lily felt the weight of the bread roll in her pocket. It was supposed to be her dinner, maybe breakfast too if she rationed it carefully. Her stomach growled in protest at what she was considering. The boy looked down at his expensive sneakers. Ms. Rebecca said she had to make a quick call, but that was forever ago. Lily sighed and reached into her pocket. "Here," she said, pulling out the carefully wrapped bread roll. "You can have this." The boy's eyes widened. "Really?" "Yeah." She handed it over, ignoring the renewed protest from her empty stomach. "It's clean. I didn't eat any of it yet." As the boy unwrapped the napkin with trembling fingers, Lily asked, "What's your name?" "Ethan," he replied, already taking a bite of the bread. "Ethan Reynolds." "I'm Lily." She didn't offer a last name. She hadn't used one in years. "So this Rebecca person, she works for your family?" Ethan nodded, his mouth full. "She's my dad's assistant. She picks me up from school sometimes when Dad has meetings." He swallowed and looked around anxiously. "I'm not supposed to talk to strangers, but you gave me food, so I guess that's okay." Lily almost smiled at his logic. "We should probably try to find a security guard or someone who can help. Dad says if I'm ever lost, I should stay in one place." Ethan took another bite. "Ms. Rebecca knows where I am. She'll come back." "How about we wait then?" Lily suggested, sitting down on the nearest bench. "But if she doesn't show up soon, we'll find someone who can call your dad." Ethan nodded and sat beside her, finishing the bread roll in record time. "That was good. Thank you." He rubbed his hands together for warmth. "Why are you alone? Where are your parents?" The direct question caught Lily off guard. Most people didn't ask, and those who did usually didn't want the real answer. "I don't have any," she said simply. It wasn't exactly true, but it was easier than explaining the complications of foster homes, group homes, and her eventual escape to the streets. "None at all?" Ethan's eyes widened. "That's really sad." Before Lily could respond, a shrill voice cut through the air. "Ethan! Ethan Reynolds!" A tall woman in a sleek grey coat and high-heeled boots came rushing toward them, her perfectly styled blonde hair bouncing with each hurried step. Her face was a mask of panic that quickly transformed into rage when she saw who Ethan was sitting with. "Get away from him!" She screamed at Lily, grabbing Ethan's arm roughly. "What do you think you're doing? Ms. Rebecca, she was just—" Ethan tried to explain, but the woman cut him off. "Be quiet, Ethan." She pulled him to his feet. "Do you have any idea how dangerous this is? Talking to street people?" She practically spat the words. "Your father would be furious." "But she gave me her food," Ethan protested. "I was hungry and you were gone for so long." "She gave you food?" Rebecca's face contorted with disgust. "Did you eat it? Oh my God, do you know what kind of diseases you could catch? We need to get you home right now." Lily stood up, her face burning with humiliation. "He was alone and scared. I was just trying to help." Rebecca's eyes narrowed. "Help? Is that what you call it? I know exactly what you street rats are after. His watch probably costs more than you'd see in a year. Was that your plan? Get him to trust you and then rob him blind?" "No," Lily protested. "I would never—" "Save it," Rebecca snapped. "Come on, Ethan. Your father will hear about this." As she dragged Ethan away, the boy looked back over his shoulder. "Thank you for the bread," he called, only to be yanked forward by Rebecca. Lily stood frozen, the familiar feeling of injustice burning in her chest. A few crumbs from the bread roll had fallen onto the bench. She picked them up carefully, even these were precious now, and was about to walk away when a voice stopped her. That was something else. A middle-aged man with kind eyes and a salt-and-pepper beard stood nearby, smartphone in hand. "I got the whole thing on video. The way she treated you, that wasn't right." Lily shrugged, uncomfortable with the attention. "Doesn't matter." "It does matter," the man insisted. "What you did, giving your food to that kid when you clearly don't have much yourself, that was beautiful. And the way that woman behaved, people should see that." Lily took a step back. "See what?" "I'm going to post this online," the man said, waving his phone. "People need to witness both sides, your kindness and her cruelty." Lily didn't understand why anyone would care about what had just happened, but she was too tired and now too hungry to argue. "Whatever," she mumbled, turning to leave. She needed to figure out where her next meal would come from. Find a Publix bathroom to wash up in and secure a safe spot to sleep tonight. A viral video was the least of her concerns. She didn't know that within hours, her simple act of kindness would change her life forever. Michael Reynolds stared at his phone screen, his coffee growing cold beside his keyboard. The video had been shared to him at least 20 times in the past hour, by business associates, friends, even his housekeeper. At first he'd ignored it, assuming it was just another viral sensation that would fade by tomorrow. But then his sister had called, her voice unusually grave. "Michael, you need to watch this now." The moment he pressed play, his world tilted on its axis. There was his son Ethan, sitting on a bench in Copley Square beside a girl who couldn't be much older than him, though her eyes carried the weight of someone far beyond her years. The timestamp showed 3:45 p.m. yesterday, exactly when Ethan should have been safely on his way home from school with Rebecca. Michael watched in stunned silence as the scene unfolded, the girl giving Ethan what appeared to be her only food, Rebecca's. The explosive arrival, her vicious accusations, and the way she dragged Ethan away. But what struck him hardest was the red scarf around the girl's neck, a splash of color against her otherwise drab clothing. A red scarf that looked achingly familiar. "Mr. Reynolds," His assistant poked her head into his office. Your 10 o'clock is here. Cancel it, Michael said, not looking up from his phone. Cancel everything today. Sir? And get Rebecca Peterson in my office. Immediately. The assistant's eyes widened at his tone. Yes, sir, right away. While he waited, Michael watched the video again and again. Each viewing revealed new details. How thin the girl was beneath her oversized coat. The practiced way she scanned her surroundings, as if constantly assessing threats. The gentle manner in which she spoke to Ethan, despite her obvious discomfort. The video had already accumulated millions of views across platforms. The Boston Bread Girl was trending, alongside less flattering hashtags for Rebecca. People were outraged, moved, and mobilizing. Someone had started a GoFundMe for the unidentified girl. Local news stations were running the story. His phone rang again. This time it was Jennifer, Ethan's therapist. Have you seen it? She asked without preamble. I have. How's Ethan handling this? Michael pinched the bridge of his nose. He doesn't know yet. He was asleep when I left this morning. This could be triggering for him, Michael. After everything with Sarah. Jennifer's voice softened. You should talk to him before he hears about it from someone else. I know I'm heading home as soon as I deal with Rebecca. As if summoned by her name, there was a knock at his door, and Rebecca entered, her usual confidence noticeably dimmed. She wore an expensive suit and a carefully constructed expression of professional concern, but her hands fidgeted with her leather portfolio. You wanted to see me, Mr. Reynolds. Michael turned his phone toward her. The video paused on a frame showing her face contorted with anger. Explain this. Rebecca's composure cracked. I can explain. That girl. She was clearly targeting Ethan. These street kids work in groups and... Stop. Michael's voice was quiet but razor-sharp. I've watched this video 17 times now. What I see is a hungry child sharing what might have been her only food with my son, who you left alone in a public square. I stepped away for 5 minutes to take an urgent call from the Tokyo office, Rebecca protested. When I came back, she was there and I reacted to protect Ethan. Protect him? Michael stood up slowly. From what? Kindness? Basic human decency? Things you clearly failed to demonstrate. Rebecca's face flushed. Sir, with all due respect, you don't understand what these street people are capable of. I was thinking of Ethan's safety. No, you weren't. Michael's tone was glacial. You were thinking of yourself, and you were projecting your prejudices onto a child who had done nothing wrong. Mr. Reynolds. You're fired, Rebecca. Security will escort you to clear out your desk. Her mouth opened and closed several times before she found her voice. You're firing me over this? After 5 years of loyal service? Because I was protecting your son from some homeless girl? I'm firing you because you abandoned my 10-year-old son in Copley Square, lied about it, and then verbally abused a child who stepped up to help him when you failed to do your job. Michael pressed the intercom. Security, please come to my office. As Rebecca was escorted out, her face a mask of indignation and disbelief, Michael called his driver. He needed to get home to Ethan. 20 minutes later, Michael walked into their Beacon Hill townhouse, its high ceilings and pristine white walls suddenly feeling cold and impersonal. Martha, their housekeeper, met him at the door with evident relief. He's in the kitchen, Mr. Reynolds, been asking for you all morning. Michael found Ethan at the kitchen island, picking at a bowl of cereal. He looked up when his father entered, his expression brightening. Dad! You're home early. Michael sat beside him, choosing his words carefully. Ethan, we need to talk about what happened yesterday with Ms. Rebecca. Ethan's spoon clattered against the bowl. She told you? Am I in trouble for talking to that girl? No. Buddy, you're not in trouble at all. Michael pulled out his phone. Someone took a video of what happened and a lot of people have seen it. Ethan's eyes widened. A video like on the internet? Yes. It's gone viral. That means lots of people are watching it and talking about it. Oh. Ethan seemed to process this information. Is the girl in trouble? Ms. Rebecca was really mean to her. No, she's not in trouble, but nobody knows who she is or how to find her. Michael hesitated. I'd like to find her, though, to thank her for helping you. Ethan nodded enthusiastically. We should. She was nice, Dad, and she was really hungry, I could tell, but she gave me her bread anyway. His face fell. Ms. Rebecca wouldn't listen when I tried to tell her that. Ms. Rebecca won't be working for us anymore, Michael said firmly. Because she was mean to the girl? That? And because she left you alone when she was supposed to be watching you? Ethan pushed his cereal bowl away. The girl, Lily, she had this red scarf. It reminded me of the ones Mom used to give out at the shelter. Michael felt his heart stutter. What did you say? Her scarf. It was red, like the ones Mom had in those boxes in the attic, the ones she said were special. Michael's mind raced back to the scarf in the video, that splash of vibrant red against the girl's faded clothing. Sarah had indeed distributed red, scarves to homeless youth through her charity work, always saying they were more than just warmth. They were a symbol that someone cared. Ethan, are you sure it looked like one of Mum's scarves? Ethan nodded emphatically. It had the little star stitched on the corner. I saw it when she sat next to me. The star, Sarah's personal touch on each scarf, she gave out. A tiny embroidered star that represented hope, she'd said. Michael pulled out his phone again and zoomed in on the video, focusing on the girl's scarf. And there it was, just visible at the edge, a small gold-stitched star. Dad, are we going to find her? Michael looked at his son's earnest face and felt something shift inside him, a sense of purpose he hadn't experienced since Sarah's passing 2 years ago. Yes, Ethan, we're going to find her. Finding one homeless girl in a city of nearly 700,000 people was no small task, even for someone with Michael Reynolds' resources. He began methodically, hiring a private investigator and reaching out to his contacts at various shelters and outreach programs throughout Boston. Meanwhile, the viral video continued to gain traction. Local news stations had picked up the story, dubbing it A Tale of Two Bostons, contrasting the girl's generosity, despite her circumstances, with the wealthy assistant's callousness. Speculation about the girl's identity and whereabouts filled comment sections and social media threads. Some claimed to have seen her near Boston Common, others at the public library, but none of these leads panned out. On the third day of the search, Michael received a call from Pastor Jim Collins at Harborside Hope Center, a shelter in South Boston. Mr. Reynolds, Pastor Jim said, his voice crackling over the line, I think the girl you're looking for sometimes comes to our youth drop-in center. She matches the description. Thin brown hair, about 13, and she definitely wears a red scarf with a star embroidered on it. Michael's pulse quickened. Do you know her name? She goes by Lily. No last name that I'm aware of. She's cautious about sharing personal information. When was the last time you saw her? 2 days ago. She comes in irregularly for meals and sometimes uses our shower facilities, but she doesn't stay overnight. Is there a chance she'll come in today? It's possible. We're serving lunch. From noon to 2. Michael glanced at his watch. 11:30. I'll be there in 20 minutes. He called his driver, then went to find Ethan, who was working on a school project in the study. Since the incident, Ethan had been uncharacteristically quiet, his usual boundless energy subdued by concern for the girl who had helped him. Ethan, Michael said from the doorway, I think we might have found Lily. Do you want to come with me to meet her? Ethan's head snapped up, his eyes wide. Really, you found her? Maybe. We're going to a place where she sometimes goes for food. Yes! Ethan jumped up, nearly knocking over his chair. I need to thank her properly and apologize for Ms. Rebecca. 20 minutes later, their car pulled up outside Harborside Hope Center, a weathered brick building with a small sign above. The door. The surrounding neighborhood was a stark contrast to their Beacon Hill home. The buildings here were worn, some boarded up, the sidewalks cracked and littered. Pastor Jim met them at the entrance, his weathered face creasing into a smile. Mr. Reynolds, thank you for coming. And you must be Ethan. He extended a hand to the boy, who shook it solemnly. We haven't seen Lily yet today, Pastor Jim explained as he led them inside. But lunch service is just starting, so there's a chance she'll come in. The center's main room was simple but clean, with folding tables set up cafeteria style. About 30 people were already seated, most of them adults with a few teenagers scattered among them. Volunteers moved efficiently behind a serving counter, dishing out what smelled like vegetable soup and sandwiches. "You're welcome to wait in my office," Pastor Jim offered, "or you can help serve if you'd like." Sometimes being part of the work makes these conversations easier. To Michael's surprise, Ethan spoke up immediately. "Can we help? Mom always said that helping is better than watching." A familiar ache pressed against Michael's chest at the mention of Sarah. She would have been the first one behind that counter, sleeves rolled up, serving food with that radiant smile of hers. "Of course you can help," Pastor Jim said, smiling at Ethan. "We always need more hands." For the next hour, Michael and Ethan worked side by side, serving soup to a steady stream of people, whose eyes reflected stories Michael could barely imagine. Some nodded in thanks. Others avoided eye contact entirely, but each interaction left Michael feeling both humbled and increasingly determined to find Lily. It was Ethan who spotted her first. "Dad," he whispered urgently, tugging at Michael's sleeve. "It's her! By the door!" Michael looked up to see a slight figure hovering near the entrance, the red scarf unmistakable against her faded grey coat. Her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, and she scanned the room with the wariness of someone accustomed to assessing threats before entering any space. Before Michael could say anything, Ethan was already moving, weaving between tables toward the door. Michael followed quickly, concerned about startling the girl. "Lily!" Ethan called out, his voice bright with excitement. The girl's head whipped around, her eyes widening in recognition, then narrowing with suspicion. For a moment, Michael thought she might bolt, but Ethan reached her before she could decide. "Lily, it's me, Ethan, from the square." His son was practically bouncing with excitement. "We've been looking everywhere for you." Lily took a step back, her gaze darting from Ethan to Michael, then to the exit behind her. "Why?" "To say thank you," Ethan explained, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. "And to tell you that Ms. Rebecca doesn't work for my dad anymore because she was mean to you." Lily's expression shifted slightly, surprise, confusion, and something else Michael couldn't quite read. She looked directly at Michael for the first time. "You're Ethan's dad?" Michael nodded, keeping his distance, aware that his 6'2" frame might be intimidating. "Michael Reynolds, I wanted to thank you personally for helping my son when he was alone." Lily shrugged, the gesture both dismissive and protective. "Anyone would have done it." "But they didn't," Michael pointed out gently. "You did, and it cost you your meal." Pastor Jim approached quietly. "Lily, would you like some lunch? We have plenty today." She hesitated, then nodded. "Thanks, Pastor Jim." They moved to the serving line, where Lily accepted a bowl of soup and a sandwich with murmured thanks. Michael noticed how carefully she handled the food, as if each piece were precious. "Would you mind if we joined you?" Michael asked when she'd found a table in the corner. Again, that careful assessment in her eyes, weighing risks and benefits. Finally, she nodded. As they sat, Michael noticed new details about Lily that the video hadn't captured. A small scar above her right eyebrow, the way her fingers constantly moved, fidgeting with her spoon, the edge of her napkin, the frayed cuff of her coat, the practiced efficiency with which she ate, not a crumb wasted. "The video of what happened in the square has gone viral," Michael explained, keeping his voice low. "A lot of people have seen it." Lily paused mid-bite. "Video?" "A man recorded. Everything, you giving Ethan your bread, Rebecca's behavior. Millions of people have watched it." "Great," Lily muttered, resuming eating. "Just what I need." "People are looking for you," Michael continued. "They want to help." "I don't need charity," she said firmly. "It's not charity to thank someone." "For their kindness," Michael countered. Then, deciding on directness, he asked, "Lily, where are your parents?" Her face closed off immediately. "Not around? Do you have a place to stay, someone looking after you?" "I look after myself." The pride in her voice was unmistakable. "Been doing it for years." Michael felt a surge of admiration mixed with sadness. This child, not much older than his son, had been surviving on her own while Ethan had never known a day of material want. "Your scarf," Michael said carefully. "May I ask where you got it?" Lily's hand went to the red fabric protectively. "Why?" "My wife used to distribute scarves just like that one through her charity work, with little stars embroidered in the corner." Something flickered in Lily's eyes. Recognition, perhaps. "A nice lady gave it to me a couple years ago," she admitted, "at a winter coat drive. She said—" Lily hesitated. "She said the star was to remind me that even on the darkest nights, there's always light somewhere." Michael felt his throat tighten. Those were Sarah's exact words, the phrase she had used whenever she spoke about her work with homeless youth. "That was my wife," he said softly. "Sarah." Lily studied him, skepticism evident. "You're saying the lady who gave me this scarf was your wife? That's a pretty big coincidence." "It does seem that way," Michael agreed, "but she gave out hundreds of those scarves, all with stars she embroidered herself. And what you just said about the star and light, those were her words exactly." Ethan, who had been uncharacteristically quiet, suddenly spoke up. "My mom passed away 2 years ago, but she used to help people a lot. She would have really liked you." Lily looked uncomfortable with this personal turn in the conversation. She finished her sandwich and wiped her hands carefully on her napkin. "Well, thanks for the lunch, but I should get going." "Wait," Michael said. "I'd like to help you if you'll let me." Lily's expression hardened. "I told you, I don't need—" "Not charity," Michael clarified quickly, "but maybe a job. Ethan could use a tutor for math. It's his toughest subject." Ethan looked surprised, but quickly caught on. "Yeah, I'm really bad at fractions. Dad says I need all the help I can get." Lily hesitated, clearly weighing the offer. "I'm good at math," she finally said, "but I don't have any credentials or whatever." "You don't need credentials to help a 10-year-old with fractions," Michael assured her. "Just patience." For the first time, a ghost of a smile touched Lily's lips. "I've got plenty of that." "Then it's settled," Michael said, feeling a small victory. "You'll help Ethan with math and I'll pay you fairly for your time." It wasn't much, but it was a start, a thread connecting this resilient girl to them, a chance to learn more about her, to eventually offer more substantial help once she trusted them, and perhaps, Michael thought with a pang, a chance to fulfill whatever purpose had led Sarah's path to cross with Lily's years ago. Because Michael Reynolds didn't believe in coincidences, and the red scarf with its embroidered star felt like a message from beyond, a breadcrumb trail Sarah had somehow left for him to follow. The tutoring arrangement began cautiously. Twice a week, Michael's driver would pick Lily up from a designated corner near the public library. She refused to reveal where she actually stayed, and bring her to the Reynolds townhouse for Ethan's math sessions. Initially, she was guarded, arriving exactly on time and leaving immediately after the hour was complete, refusing offers of dinner or additional compensation beyond the agreed-upon $20 per session. But Ethan, with his natural exuberance and complete lack of pretense, gradually wore down her defenses. By the 3rd week, she had begun accepting meals after the tutoring. By the 4th, she occasionally stayed to watch a movie or play board games. The transformation in Ethan was equally remarkable. His math grades improved dramatically, and he spoke of little else but Lily between her visits. "She explains things different than my teachers," he told Michael one evening after a particularly successful session. "She makes it like a puzzle or a game, and she never makes me feel stupid when I don't get it right away." Michael observed these sessions from a distance, noticing how Lily grew more animated when teaching, her usual wariness temporarily set aside. He wondered about her own education. She was clearly intelligent, with a quick mind and natural teaching ability that suggested formal schooling at some point in her past. On a rainy April afternoon, about a month into their arrangement, Michael came home early to find Lily and Ethan sprawled on the living room floor, surrounded by textbooks and notebooks, but clearly not studying. "Then what happened?" Ethan was asking eagerly. Lily was in the middle of a story, her hands gesturing expressively. "So the librarian says, 'Young lady, you cannot check out 17 books at once,' and I say, 'Show me where in the rules it says that.' And she gets all flustered because there actually isn't a rule about it, just a suggestion." Did you get all 17 books? You bet I did. Carried them 6 blocks in my backpack. It weighed a ton, but it was worth it. Lily's smile faded as she noticed Michael in the doorway. Oh, hi, Mr. Reynolds. Please don't stop on my account, Michael said, smiling. I'm curious if you managed to read all 17 books. Some of her ease returned. Every single one, twice for the good ones. Lily's super smart, Dad, Ethan said proudly. She's read more books than anyone I know. I believe it, Michael replied, though I'm wondering when the actual math tutoring happens between all these excellent stories. We finished the fractions worksheet 20 minutes ago, Lily said, a hint of defensiveness in her tone. Ethan got every problem right. That's great news. Michael sat down in an armchair nearby. Would you two mind if I asked a serious question? Ethan groaned. Dad's serious questions are always complicated. Not this one, Michael assured him. Lily, I'm curious. Why aren't you in school? The question hung in the air. Lily's expression shuttered, her fingers automatically finding the edge of her red scarf, a gesture Michael had come to recognize as a self-soothing habit. I was, she said finally, until about 3 years ago. What happened? She shrugged, the deliberately casual movement at odds with the tension in her shoulders. Foster care happened, kept moving around. School records got lost or delayed. Eventually it was easier to just not go. Do you miss it? The question seemed to surprise her. School sometimes, I miss learning new things. Having access to books and computers. She glanced at Ethan, then back to Michael. But I don't miss the other stuff, the social hierarchy, the teachers who've already decided what kind of kid you are before you open your mouth. Michael nodded, understanding far more than she was saying. You know, Ethan's school has a scholarship program for gifted students. Dad, Ethan interjected, excitement building in his voice, are you saying Lily could go to my school? I'm saying it might be a possibility worth exploring, Michael replied carefully, watching Lily's reaction. If that's something she might be interested in. Lily's face was a complex mix of emotions, longing, suspicion, hope, and fear, all battling for dominance. I don't have an address, she said finally, or guardians or proper ID. Schools need that stuff. Those are administrative details, Michael said dismissively. They can be worked out. By who? Lily challenged, an edge creeping into her voice. Social services, because I've been there, done that, and no thanks. Michael recognized the defensive anger for what it was, fear of hope. There are other options, he said gently, but I wouldn't pursue any of them without your permission and involvement. Before Lily could respond, Martha appeared in the doorway. Dinner's ready, Mr. Reynolds. I've set 3 places. Perfect timing, Michael said, standing. Lily, will you join us? Martha makes an incredible lasagna on Thursdays. The abrupt change of subject gave Lily the space she needed to compose herself. I guess I could stay for dinner, thanks. As they moved to the dining room, Michael's phone rang. The special ringtone he'd assigned to Jennifer Parker, the social worker who had been helping him navigate the complexities of potentially helping Lily in a more formal capacity. Excuse. Me, I need to take this, he said, stepping into his study and closing the door. Jennifer, what have you found out? A lot, actually, Jennifer replied. I did some digging into state records. Lily's full name is Lillian Grace Bennett. She was in the foster system from age 7 until she ran away at 10. There were 4 placements in 3 years, none of them particularly stable. What about her parents? Mother deceased when Lily was 6, drug overdose. Father unknown, not listed on the birth certificate. Michael absorbed this information, his heart heavy. So she's been on her own for 3 years. As far as we can tell, yes, there's an open case file, but it's been deprioritized due to lack of leads and an overwhelmed system. What are our options here, Jennifer, legally speaking? There was a pause on the line. That depends on what you're hoping to achieve, Michael. I want to help her. Give her stability, education, a chance at a normal life, without involving the system that failed her before. Exactly. Jennifer sighed. It's complicated, but not impossible. There's a temporary guardianship arrangement we could pursue, with the court's approval. It wouldn't be adoption, but it would give you legal authority to enroll her in school, get her medical care, that sort of thing. Would she have to return to foster care in the meantime? Not necessarily. Given her history and the, let's say, unique circumstances of your connection, we could make a case for an emergency placement with you while the paperwork is processed. Michael considered this. I don't want to force anything on her. She's fiercely independent and with good reason. I understand that, Jennifer said. But Michael, winter's coming. She can't keep living on the streets, especially not in Boston. Sooner or later something bad will happen. Illness, violence, authorities picking her up, the clock is ticking. I know, Michael said heavily. I'll talk to her. Feel things out. Do it soon, Jennifer advised. And Michael, you're doing a good thing here. Sarah would be proud. The mention of his late wife sent a familiar pang through his chest. Thanks, Jennifer. I'll keep you posted. When Michael returned to the dining room, he found Ethan regaling Lily with an elaborate story about his science class's failed attempt to hatch chicken eggs, complete with dramatic reenactments that had Lily actually laughing, a sound Michael realized he'd never heard from her before. It transformed her face, making her look like the child she really was beneath the layers of caution and self-reliance. As they ate, Michael observed the easy rapport that had developed between Ethan and Lily. The way they had created their own language of inside jokes and references, how Lily always made sure Ethan had seconds before taking more for herself, how Ethan unconsciously mirrored her mannerisms. They had formed a bond that transcended their vastly different circumstances, and it filled Michael with both hope and determination. After dinner, as Martha cleared the dishes despite Lily's insistence on helping, Michael made his decision. Lily, it's getting pretty late and it's pouring out there. Why don't you stay in our guest room tonight? The offer hung in the air. Lily's fork paused halfway to her mouth. Please say yes, Ethan pleaded. We could watch that space documentary I was telling you about, and Martha makes amazing pancakes for breakfast. Lily placed her fork down carefully. I appreciate the offer, but I should get back. Back where? Michael asked gently. Lily's eyes flashed. I have a place. Is it safe, warm, dry? Her silence was answer enough. Just for tonight, Michael said. No strings attached. Tomorrow my driver can take you wherever you want to go. Ethan leaned forward, eyes wide with hope. Please, Lily. It's like a sleepover, but with education. A reluctant smile tugged at Lily's lips. You're really bad at selling this, you know. So that's a yes. Ethan bounced in his seat. Lily looked to Michael, her expression serious. Just for tonight, and I want to help Martha with the dishes. Deal, Michael said, relief washing over him. Later, after the dishes were done and the space documentary watched, Michael showed Lily to the guest room. It was simply furnished but comfortable, with a queen-sized bed, reading lamp and adjoining bathroom. There are new toothbrushes in the bathroom drawer, Michael told her, and Martha put out some pajamas that might fit you. They belonged to my niece who stayed here last summer. Lily stood in the center of the room, looking smaller than usual amid the plush surroundings. This is really nice. Thank you. You're welcome here any time, Lily. I want you to know that. She nodded, not quite meeting his eyes. Good night, Mr. Reynolds. Good night, Lily. Michael paused at the door. For what it's worth, I think you're extraordinary. What you've managed on your own, it's remarkable. But everyone needs help. Sometimes, even the strongest people. He closed the door softly behind him, hoping his words had made some impact. In his own room, he opened his laptop and began researching temporary guardianship procedures in Massachusetts, more determined than ever to find a way to keep Lily safe. What he didn't know was that in the guest room, Lily was sitting on the edge of the bed, holding the red scarf in her hands, running her fingers over the embroidered star, and remembering the kind-eyed woman who had given it to her with such similar words of encouragement. One night turned into two, then a weekend, then a tentative arrangement where Lily stayed at the Reynolds home 4 nights a week. The other 3 nights remained a mystery. She insisted on maintaining her independence, and Michael respected her boundaries, even as it kept him awake with worry. Jennifer Parker had been working diligently behind the scenes, preparing the paperwork for temporary guardianship and navigating the complexities of Lily's situation. Meanwhile, Michael had reached out to Westbridge Academy, Ethan's private school, discussing the possibility of a mid-year scholarship admission. To his relief, the headmaster had been intrigued rather than dismissive, especially after viewing Lily's remarkable performance on the assessment tests they'd discreetly arranged, but something continued to nag at Michael. The coincidence of Sarah's scarf felt like more than chance. It felt like a thread connecting past to present, a deliberate breadcrumb trail. He found himself returning to Sarah's home office more frequently, a room he'd largely avoided in the 2 years since her accident. It remained exactly as she'd left it, organized chaos with stacks of papers, folders of charity work, and the half-finished projects that had defined her energetic approach to life. One rainy Sunday morning, while Ethan and Lily were engrossed in a heated Mario Kart tournament downstairs, Michael finally committed to a thorough exploration of Sarah's papers. He started with her desk drawers, then moved to the filing cabinet, methodically working through years of documentation related to her charitable foundation, the Starlight Initiative. In the back of the bottom drawer, he found a leather portfolio he didn't recognize. Inside were handwritten notes, financial documents, and architectural renderings for something called Project Sanctuary. Michael spread the papers across Sarah's desk, trying to piece together the narrative they contained. The plans showed a residential facility designed specifically for homeless girls ages 12 to 18, with private rooms, educational spaces, counseling, offices, and communal areas. Sarah's notes detailed her vision: not a shelter, not an institution, a home, a place where girls can heal, learn, and prepare for independent living with dignity. Financial documents indicated that Sarah had allocated substantial personal funds, nearly $2 million, to this project. But there was no record of the project ever breaking ground. What had happened to those funds? As Michael dug deeper, he found a folder labeled Personal, tucked inside a larger file. Inside was a journal and a sealed envelope addressed simply, "For Michael, if needed." His hands trembled slightly as he opened the envelope. Inside was a letter written in Sarah's flowing script. "Michael, if you're reading this, something has either gone very wrong or very right. I hope it's the latter, but I've learned to prepare for all possibilities. There's something I've never told you about my childhood. The story about being raised by my aunt after my parents died in a car crash when I was 4. It wasn't entirely true. I lived with my mother until I was 10, on the streets of Boston. She struggled with addiction, and we moved between shelters, cars, and sometimes worse places. When she overdosed, I spent 6 months in the foster system before Aunt Meredith found me and took me in. I've kept this secret not out of shame, but because those early years were so painful that I needed to compartmentalize them to move forward. As an adult, I've tried to channel that pain into purpose, hence my dedication to homeless youth. Project Sanctuary is my dream, a place I wish had existed for me and my mother. I've allocated $195 million from my inheritance to make it reality, working with architects and social workers to design the perfect space. But I've encountered unexpected resistance from Robert. He claims the family foundation bylaws prevent such a large allocation without board approval. I suspect his motives aren't purely procedural. The money has been temporarily frozen while our lawyers sort it out. If something happens to me before this is resolved, please see it through, Michael. Not just for me, but for girls like I once was. Girls who need someone to fight for them when they've already fought too hard for themselves. With all my love, Sarah." Michael sat back, stunned. Sarah had never given him even the slightest hint about her early life on the streets. She'd spoken of her aunt raising her after her parents' passing, a deliberately vague term, he now realized. But the rest, her mother's addiction, their homelessness, she'd kept entirely hidden. And Robert, Sarah's cousin, who served as the Reynolds Family Foundation's financial director, had apparently blocked her project. The same Robert who had delivered a heartfelt eulogy at Sarah's funeral, who still joined them for holidays, who managed significant portions of the Reynolds fortune. Michael's mind raced back to the timing. Sarah's accident had occurred just 3 weeks after the date on these project documents, and in the chaos of grief that followed, any financial matters related to her personal projects would have been easily overlooked or quietly shelved. He reached for his phone to call Robert, then stopped. No, this required a more careful approach. First, he needed to understand exactly what had happened to that money. A soft knock at the door interrupted his thoughts. Lily stood in the doorway, hesitant to enter what was clearly a private space. "Sorry to bother you," she said. "Ethan wanted me to tell you we're getting hungry, and Martha's not here today." Michael glanced at his watch, surprised to find it was already past noon. "I lost track of time. Come in for a second, Lily." She entered cautiously, her eyes taking in the feminine touches of the office, the floral artwork, the colorful throw pillows on the window seat, the collection of handmade pottery on the shelves. "This was Sarah's office," Michael explained. "My wife." Lily nodded, understanding the significance. "It feels like her. Warm." "You never met her," Michael observed, "except that one time with the scarf." "I remember her, though," Lily said quietly. "She didn't just hand out scarves. She sat and talked with each person, asked our names, remembered them later. Most people who do charity work don't do that." Michael smiled sadly. "That sounds like Sarah." He hesitated, then decided to take a chance. "Lily, did Sarah ever mention something called the Starlight Initiative or Project Sanctuary to you?" Lily's brow furrowed in concentration. "The star on the scarf, she said it was the same star from her foundation. Starlight, I think. She said someday there would be a place where the star would guide girls like me home." Her expression grew uncertain. "I thought it was just a nice thing to say." "It wasn't," Michael said, gesturing to the architectural plans spread across the desk. "She was building it, or trying to." Lily approached slowly, looking at the renderings with widening eyes. "This is a home for girls who don't have one," Michael finished. "Sarah's dream project." "What happened to it?" "That's what I'm trying to figure out." Michael considered how much to share, then decided on honesty. "It seems the money for it, almost $2 million, was blocked by Sarah's cousin right before her accident. I don't know why." Lily studied the plans with intense focus. "These rooms, they're private, not bunks. Everyone deserves their own space," Michael said, quoting directly from Sarah's notes. "And these," Lily pointed to a section of the building, "classrooms, learning spaces, art studio, computer lab," Michael confirmed. Sarah believed education was the key to breaking cycles of poverty. Lily was silent for a long moment, her finger tracing the outline of the building. Then she looked up at Michael, her expression more vulnerable than he'd ever seen it. "Why are you showing me this?" Michael chose his words carefully. "Because I think Sarah would have wanted you to know, and because I'm going to build it, finish what she started. I just need to find out what happened to her funding first. Why would her cousin block it? Wasn't it her money? That's the question, isn't it?" Michael gathered the papers, placing them carefully back in the portfolio. "How about we order pizza for lunch, and then I need to make a few calls." As they headed downstairs, Michael's mind was already formulating a plan. He would need to review the foundation bylaws, speak with Sarah's attorney, and eventually confront Robert. But he would do it methodically, gathering evidence before making accusations. What he didn't know then was that Robert had been monitoring the Reynolds accounts closely ever since the viral video had appeared, and that his cousin-in-law's sudden interest in Sarah's old project had already triggered a series of defensive maneuvers designed to keep certain truths buried. 3 days later, Michael sat across from Marion Caldwell, Sarah's personal attorney, in her downtown office. "I have to say I'm surprised it took you this long to ask these questions," Marion said, adjusting her glasses as she reviewed the documents Michael had brought. Sarah was quite concerned in those final weeks. Concerned about what exactly? The foundation money. She believed Robert was using procedural objections to block her project while actually diverting funds elsewhere. Marion pulled out a file from her cabinet. She asked me to conduct a quiet investigation. I had just received the preliminary findings when she had her accident, Michael finished. Yes. Marion's expression was carefully neutral. In the aftermath, with you in such grief and focused on Ethan, these matters were set aside. What did your investigation find? Marion slid a report across the desk. Discrepancies, substantial ones. Approximately $1.8 million from the foundation was transferred to a shell company called Orion Ventures in the 3 months before Sarah's accident. Horgan, as it happens, was owned by Robert's wife through a series of proxies. Michael felt cold anger building in his chest. He stole Sarah's project money. Misappropriated would be the legal term, Marion corrected, and without Sarah pushing the issue, the paper trail was buried in routine foundation business. What happened to Orion Ventures? Dissolved 6 months after Sarah's accident. The money was ostensibly used for investment opportunities that failed spectacularly, leaving nothing to recover. Michael's jaw tightened. Can we prove any of this? With a proper forensic accounting investigation, yes. But Michael, Marion leaned forward, her expression grave. You should know that Sarah was preparing to go public with this information. She had a meeting scheduled with the foundation board the day after her accident. A meeting that never happened. The implication hung in the air between them, unspoken but unmistakable. I need copies of everything, Michael said, his voice steady despite the turmoil inside. And I want to hire that forensic accountant immediately. As he left Marion's office, Michael's phone rang. It was Jennifer Parker. Michael, we need to talk, she said without preamble. There's been a development with Lily's case. What kind of development? Someone has suddenly taken an interest in her file, someone with influence. They're pushing to have her placed in a specific group home facility immediately, citing her high-risk status as a runway. Michael stopped walking, a chill running through him. Who? That's just it. I can't tell. The request is coming through official channels, but it's being expedited in ways that suggest political or financial pressure. When did this happen? The paperwork was filed yesterday, Jennifer said. It's moving fast, Michael. If we don't get our guardianship petition in immediately, she could be picked up as early as next week. Michael looked up at the grey Boston sky, connecting dots that formed a disturbing picture. I'll be at your office in 20 minutes with the signed paperwork. And Jennifer, don't discuss Lily's case with anyone else until I get there. As he flagged down a taxi, Michael pulled out his phone again, this time calling home. Martha, is Lily there? Good. Don't let her leave the house for any reason. And if Robert calls or stops by, make an excuse. I'll explain everything when I get home. The pieces were falling into place. Robert's theft, Sarah's planned exposure, the sudden interest in removing Lily from Michael's influence. But one crucial question remained unanswered. How did Robert even know about Lily in the first place? The emergency guardianship hearing was scheduled for the following Monday, giving Michael 5 days to prepare. Jennifer had worked miracles with the paperwork, leveraging her connections in family court to expedite the process. Meanwhile, Michael had arranged for round-the-clock security at the house, ostensibly to manage the continued media interest in Boston's bread girl, but actually to ensure Lily's safety. Lily, perceptive as always, knew something was happening, but didn't press for details. Instead, she threw herself into preparing for her upcoming entrance exams for Westbridge Academy, working with the tutor Michael had hired and spending hours in the home library. On Friday afternoon, Michael sat her down in the study for a conversation. He couldn't postpone any longer. Lily, there are some things I need to tell you, he began, choosing his words carefully. About Sarah, about her project, and about why I think these things are connected to you. Lily's face was composed, but her fingers found the edge of her scarf, a tell Michael had come to recognize. I'm listening, she said simply. Sarah was building a home for girls who've experienced homelessness. You know that part already. What I didn't tell you is that it was personal for her because she spent the first 10 years of her life homeless herself. Lily's eyes widened slightly, but she remained silent. Her cousin Robert blocked the funding for her project and essentially stole the money. I believe he did this because the project threatened to expose his own mismanagement of foundation funds. Michael paused. Sarah was going to confront him about it the day after her accident. You think he had something to do with her accident? Lily asked, cutting straight to the implication. Michael appreciated her directness. I don't know, it could be coincidence, but what I do know is that suddenly, just as I'm investigating what happened to Sarah's project money, someone with influence is trying to have you removed and placed in a group home. Lily tensed visibly. What does that mean? It means I think Robert sees you as a threat. Maybe because of the viral video. Maybe because you're connected to Sarah through the scarf. Maybe because he fears what I might discover if I follow Sarah's path backward. So what happens now? On Monday, we have a court hearing for emergency temporary guardianship. If granted, it would give me legal standing as your guardian. Not adoption, but legal protection. It would prevent anyone from removing you against your will. Lily was quiet for a long moment, processing. And if I don't want that? The question was gentle but direct, and Michael respected her enough to answer honestly. Then you remain vulnerable to being picked up and placed in the system. I'd still try to help you, but my ability to do so would be limited. Why are you doing all this? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The guardianship, the school application, digging up all this stuff about your wife's past. It's a lot of trouble for someone you barely know. Michael considered his answer carefully. When Sarah and I got married, she made me promise that if I ever found myself in a position to change someone's life for the better, I wouldn't hesitate, even if it was inconvenient or complicated. It was her life philosophy. He smiled softly. But beyond that promise, there's you, Lily. Who you are, your intelligence, your resilience, your heart. Getting to know you these past weeks has been illuminating. You remind me that there's still good in this world, even in the hardest circumstances. Lily looked down, uncomfortable with the praise but not rejecting it. What about Ethan? How does he feel about all this? Ecstatic. He's already referring to you as his sister in conversations with his friends. A small smile tugged at Lily's lips. He's a good kid. The best, Michael agreed. And he adores you. Lily took a deep breath, seeming to come to a decision. Okay, I'll do the guardianship thing, but I have conditions. Name them. I don't want charity. If I live here, I work, helping with chores, tutoring Ethan, whatever, and I need some independence, not disappearing for days anymore, but space to breathe. Reasonable, Michael nodded. And I want to help with Sarah's project, not just benefit from it, help build it. I know what girls like me need better than most architects or social workers. Michael felt a surge of pride at her thoughtfulness. I couldn't think of anyone better to consult on the project. One more thing, Lily added, her expression growing serious. I want to be there when you confront Robert. I want to see his face. This gave Michael pause. Lily, that could be dangerous. Not if we're smart about it, she countered. Besides, I'm good at reading people. I might notice things you miss. Before Michael could respond, Martha knocked on the study door. Mr. Reynolds, Mr. Williams is here to see you. He says it's urgent. Michael and Lily exchanged glances. Robert Williams, the very man they'd been discussing, was now standing in their foyer. Tell him I'll be right there, Michael said calmly. Then to Lily, stay here, please. But we'll do this right, Michael assured her. But not today, not without preparation. Reluctantly, Lily nodded, and Michael headed to the living room where Robert waited, pacing with barely contained agitation. Robert Williams was a handsome man in his mid-50s, with carefully maintained silver hair and the kind of tan that spoke of regular Caribbean vacations. He turned as Michael entered, his expression a practiced mix of concern and affability. Michael, I've been trying to reach you for days. It's been a busy week, Michael replied neutrally, not offering a handshake. What brings you by unannounced? Robert? If Robert noticed the coldness, he didn't show it. Family concern, of course, this viral video business, the homeless girl. I wanted to make sure you and Ethan are okay. The press can be ruthless. We're managing fine, thank you. Robert glanced around the room as if expecting to see Lily lurking in a corner. I hear you've actually taken the girl in. Temporarily, I assume. Her name is Lily, Michael said evenly. "And my arrangements with her are private." Of course. Robert waved a dismissive hand. "It's just these situations can be complicated, legally speaking. These street kids often have issues, behavioral problems, substance abuse." "Lily has none of those issues," Michael interrupted. "She's an exceptional young woman who has survived extraordinary circumstances." Robert's smile tightened. "Even so, Michael, you need to be careful. The foundation has a reputation to maintain. Having a Reynolds associated with some street urchin, it raises questions." "What kind of questions exactly?" Michael asked, his voice dangerously soft. "Well, propriety for one, and then there's the liability." Robert's tone grew serious. "Did you know there's an open case file on this girl? She's technically a runaway, which means harboring her could be construed as—" "I'm well aware of Lily's legal status," Michael cut in, "and I'm working with the proper authorities to address it. What I'm curious about, Robert, is how you came to know about her case file." A flicker of something, alarm perhaps, crossed Robert's face before his smooth veneer returned. "I have connections in social services. Made some inquiries when I saw the video, purely out of concern for the family." "Interesting timing," Michael observed. "Those inquiries seem to have triggered a sudden attempt to have Lily placed in a group home, just as I've been looking into some of Sarah's unfinished projects." The atmosphere in the room shifted perceptibly, the pretense of a friendly family visit evaporating. "I'm not sure what you're implying," Robert said, his voice cooler now. "I think you are." Michael stepped closer. "I found Sarah's files, Robert, about Project Sanctuary, about the missing funds, about the meeting she was planning to have with the foundation board." Robert's composure cracked slightly, a twitch at the corner of his mouth. "Ancient history. Sarah had many projects, many dreams. Not all of them were practical. A home for homeless girls wasn't practical, or was it just inconvenient for you because the money was already gone?" "You're treading on dangerous ground, Michael." Robert's voice had dropped to a near whisper. "Family matters should stay within the family." "I couldn't agree more," Michael replied, "which is why I've scheduled a special meeting of the foundation board for next Thursday, to discuss the findings of the forensic accountant I've hired to trace those missing funds." Robert's face paled. "You can't do that." "I already have." "Think about Ethan," Robert hissed. "About the scandal. Is this really what you want for him? For the Reynolds name to be dragged through the mud?" "Don't you dare use my son as leverage," Michael said, his voice controlled but vibrating with anger. "The only person who should be worried about scandal is you." Robert's facade finally crumbled, revealing the desperate man beneath. It was a temporary measure. The investments were supposed to pay off, return the money with interest. Sarah wouldn't listen to reason. She was going to destroy everything over some bleeding heart project. Project she deeply believed in. A project that might have helped girls like Lily, and like Sarah herself once was. Robert's eyes narrowed in confusion. "What are you talking about?" "Sarah was homeless as a child, Robert, before Aunt Meredith took her in. That's why Project Sanctuary mattered so much to her. It wasn't just charity, it was personal." "That's absurd," Robert scoffed. "I've known Sarah her entire life. She grew up privileged, just like the rest of us." "No, you knew Sarah from age 10 onward, the version of her that Meredith helped create. You never knew the little girl who lived in shelters and cars with her addicted mother." Robert shook his head in disbelief. "Even if that were true, which I doubt, it doesn't change the facts. The money is gone, Michael, lost in bad investments years ago." "Is it?" Michael raised an eyebrow. "Because the timing of those bad investments coincides perfectly with the purchase of your summer house in the Hamptons and your wife's mysteriously successful art gallery." Robert's face flushed with anger. "You have no proof." "Actually, I do. Bank transfers, shell companies, everything. Sarah was more thorough than you gave her credit for. She just never got the chance to use what she found." A tense silence filled the room. Robert's mind seemed to be racing, calculating his options. "What do you want?" he finally asked, defeat evident in his slumped shoulders. "Restitution. The full amount plus interest donated to the new Starlight Foundation I'm establishing to complete Sarah's project. That's over $2 million. 2.4 with appropriate interest, Michael corrected. And your resignation from the family foundation, effective immediately. You're destroying me, Robert said bitterly. No, I'm giving you a chance Sarah never got. A choice. Make this right, or I take everything to the authorities. Robert's jaw worked silently for a moment. Then with a curt nod, he turned and walked stiffly toward the door. You'll have my decision by Monday. Make the right one, Michael called after him. As the front door closed, Michael became aware of a presence behind him. Lily stood in the doorway to the study, her expression unreadable. You heard? He asked. She nodded. Most of it. She stepped into the room, her eyes fixed on the door where Robert had exited. He's going to run. What makes you say that? His eyes, the way he kept looking around, he's not planning to pay anything back, he's planning to disappear. Michael considered this. Lily's street instincts had proven remarkably accurate so far. Then we'll be ready when he tries. Lily looked at him curiously. You didn't tell him about the guardianship hearing on Monday? No, Michael admitted. Some cards are better held close. Smart, Lily said with approval. Then, after a moment's hesitation, thank you for standing up for me, for believing in me. Michael smiled gently. Always easy to believe in what's true, Lily. For the first time since he'd known her, Lily initiated physical contact, stepping forward to give him a quick, awkward hug before just as quickly stepping back, embarrassed by her own impulse. So, she said, changing the subject, what's the plan for Monday? Michael let her have the moment of retreat, respecting her boundaries. We go to court, we make our case, and then, if all goes well, we start building a future, yours and all the other girls who will come after you. What he didn't say, what he held in his heart, was how much this fierce, brilliant girl had already changed his and Ethan's lives, bringing purpose back to his days and joy back to their home in ways he hadn't thought possible after Sarah's passing. Some gifts, he was learning, came in the most unexpected packages, even sometimes in the form of a piece of bread offered by a hungry child to a stranger in need. The Monday morning of the guardianship hearing dawned bright and clear, a rarity for early May in Boston. Lily stood before the mirror in her room, no longer the guest room but her room, with walls now painted a soft sage green of her choosing, and bookshelves filled with volumes she'd selected during weekend trips to bookstores with Ethan. She wore the outfit Martha had helped her pick out, a simple navy dress with a cardigan, formal enough for court but not so formal that she felt like an imposter. Her red scarf, freshly washed but still showing signs of its years of wear, completed the ensemble. She wouldn't go anywhere without it, especially not today. A knock at her door interrupted her nervous adjustments. "Come in," she called. Ethan bounded. In, already dressed in a button-up shirt and khakis, his usual energy barely contained. "Today's the day," he announced, as if she might have forgotten. "After today, you're officially part of our family. Well, legally anyway. You're already part of our family in all the ways that matter." Lily smiled at his enthusiasm. "The judge still has to approve it, Ethan. It's not guaranteed. Dad says Judge Martinez is really fair, and Jennifer says our case is super strong." Ethan flopped onto her carefully made bed, unconcerned about wrinkling his clothes. "Besides, anyone can see this is where you belong." The simple certainty in his voice brought a lump to Lily's throat. 6 months ago, she had been sleeping in abandoned buildings and scrounging for food. The idea of belonging anywhere had seemed as distant as the stars. "Hey," Ethan said, suddenly serious, "are you scared?" Lily considered lying, then remembered her promise to herself to be honest with this family that had opened their home to her. "A little," she admitted. "I've been in courtrooms before. They never ended well for me." Ethan nodded thoughtfully. "But this time Dad's with you, and me, and Jennifer and Pastor Jim, and even Mrs. Abernathy from Westbridge, who said you're the most promising student she's interviewed in years." Lily smiled despite her nerves. Ethan's unwavering support had become one of the constants in her new life, as reliable as the stars she could now see clearly from her bedroom window, away from the light pollution of downtown. "You're right," she conceded. "This time is different." "Guys," Michael called up the stairs, "breakfast is ready, and we need to leave in 45 minutes. They headed downstairs to find Michael in the kitchen, attempting to flip pancakes with more enthusiasm than skill. Martha had the day off, and he'd insisted on making a special breakfast himself, despite his limited culinary abilities. "These are interesting," Lily observed diplomatically, examining the misshapen pancake Michael slid onto her plate. "They're artistic," Michael corrected with a grin. "Abstract expressionism in pancake form." "They taste good, though," Ethan said through a mouthful, having already doused his in maple syrup. As they ate, Michael reviewed the day's schedule. "The hearing is at 10. Jennifer will meet us there. It should be straightforward. She's filed all the paperwork, and we have strong character references. The judge will likely ask you some questions, Lily, about whether this arrangement is what you want." Lily nodded, pushing a piece of pancake around her plate. "And Robert? Any word?" Michael's expression tightened slightly. "Nothing since Friday. His lawyer called to say he's considering the options, but my security team reports he withdrew a large sum of cash on Saturday, and his wife has been seen packing suitcases." "Told you," Lily said quietly. "He's running." "Let him try," Michael replied. "I've already alerted the foundation board and frozen the accounts he had access to, and I have people watching the airports and train stations just in case." Ethan looked between them, confusion on his face. "I still don't understand why Uncle Robert would steal from Mum's project. He always seemed nice." Michael and Lily exchanged glances. They had shielded Ethan from many of the details, but he deserved some explanation. "Sometimes," Lily said carefully, "people who seem nice on the outside make bad choices when they think nobody's watching, especially when money is involved." Ethan considered this. "Like when Bobby Chen cheats on math tests even though his dad gives him $20 for every A." "Something like that," Michael agreed, impressed by his son's analogy, but on a much bigger scale. They finished breakfast and loaded into Michael's car. The familiar routine of buckling seatbelts and checking for forgotten items, a small comfort against the significance of the day ahead. As they drove through Boston's morning traffic, Lily gazed out at the city streets, the same streets that had once been her only home. She recognized landmarks that had once served as navigation points in her survival: the public library where she'd spent rainy days reading and staying warm, the bakery that put unsold bread in the alley dumpster. At exactly 7:43 p.m., the overpass where she'd slept on the coldest nights, hidden from view but sheltered from snow. Now she viewed these places from behind the glass of a luxury car, wearing clothes that fit properly, with a full stomach and a home to return to. The contrast was sometimes dizzying. "Penny for your thoughts?" Michael asked, catching her expression in the rearview mirror. "Just thinking about how much can change in a few months," she replied, "for better or worse." "Mostly better, I hope." Lily met his eyes in the mirror and nodded. "Definitely better." The family court was housed in a stern granite building downtown. As they approached the entrance, Lily was surprised to see a small crowd gathered. Pastor Jim from the shelter, several volunteers she recognized, and even a few of the regular homeless folks she'd known from her time on the streets. "What are they all doing here?" she asked, confused. Pastor Jim stepped forward with a warm smile. "Supporting you, of course. Word gets around. This is a big day." One of the older homeless men, Walter, whom Lily had often shared coffee with at the shelter, removed his worn cap respectfully. "You're one of us, kid. Always will be, no matter where you live. We look after our own." Tears pricked at Lily's eyes, unexpected and unwelcome. She blinked them back hastily, but not before Ethan noticed and slipped his hand into hers. "See?" he whispered. "Told you that you belong." Inside, the courthouse was all polished floors and hushed voices. Jennifer Parker was waiting for them outside courtroom C, her professional demeanor softened by a genuine smile when she saw them. "Everyone ready?" she asked, giving Lily's shoulder a reassuring squeeze. Before anyone could answer, the courthouse doors burst open and a commotion erupted in the main hall. Security guards moved quickly toward the entrance, and raised voices echoed through the normally subdued space. "I need to see Michael Reynolds immediately." a familiar voice demanded. "It's a family emergency." Robert Williams, looking considerably less polished than usual, was attempting to push past security, his face flushed with urgency or exertion. Michael stepped forward, Lily and Ethan close behind. "Robert, what are you doing here?" Security allowed Robert through when Michael acknowledged him, but kept a watchful eye on the agitated man. "Michael, thank God," Robert said, out of breath. "You have to call off the dogs. My account's frozen. Investigators at my home, it's gone too far." "Has it?" Michael's voice was cool. "Or has it not gone far enough?" "Look," Robert lowered his voice, glancing nervously at the people watching their exchange. "I'll pay it back. All of it. I'll resign from the board. Whatever you want. Just make this stop." "That was the offer on Friday," Michael reminded him. "But it seems you had other plans involving cash withdrawals and packed suitcases." Robert's face crumpled. "I panicked. Stupid, I know. But I'm here now, ready to make amends." "After you realized all escape routes were blocked," Lily observed quietly. Robert noticed her for the first time, his eyes narrowing. "This is between family, young lady." "Lily is family," Michael said firmly. "Or she will be after today's hearing. Which, by the way, we're about to be late for." "Michael, please," Robert's voice took on a desperate edge. "Sarah wouldn't want this, the scandal, the public humiliation." "What Sarah wanted," Michael replied, "was for her project to help girls like Lily, like she once was herself. And that's exactly what's going to happen." The courthouse door opened again and Marion Caldwell entered, accompanied by two serious-looking men in suits. "Perfect timing," Michael said. "Marion, would you please escort Robert to your office? He has some paperwork to sign regarding the restitution of funds and his resignation from the foundation." "Of course," Marion said crisply. "Mr. Williams, shall we?" As Robert was led away, his shoulders slumped in defeat, Jennifer checked her watch. "We need to get inside. Judge Martinez is very punctual." The courtroom was smaller than Lily had expected, with warm wood paneling and natural light streaming through high windows. Judge Elena Martinez, a woman in her 50s with intelligent eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor, presided from the bench. The proceedings moved with surprising speed. Jennifer presented their case eloquently, detailing Lily's background, her academic potential, and the stable home environment the Reynolds family provided. Character references were submitted. Michael testified about his desire to provide Lily with the opportunities she deserved. Then it was Lily's turn. As she took the seat beside the judge's bench, she felt a moment of panic, the formal setting triggering memories of previous hearings where she'd been little more than a case number, her fate decided by strangers. "Lily," Judge Martinez began, her voice gentler than expected, "I'd like to hear from you directly. Is this guardianship arrangement something you want?" Lily took a deep breath, finding Ethan's encouraging smile in the small audience. "Yes, Your Honor, it is." "Can you tell me why?" Lily had prepared for this question, rehearsing a polished answer about educational opportunities and stability, but sitting there under the judge's attentive gaze, different words emerged. "Because for the first time in a long time, I'm not just surviving. I'm living," she said. "Honestly, in the Reynolds home, I'm not a problem to be solved or a case to be managed. I'm just Lily. I can focus on school without worrying about where I'll sleep or what I'll eat. I can make plans for next week, next month, next year." She touched her red scarf gently. "And I've learned that sometimes the help you give to others comes back to you in ways you never expected." Judge Martinez nodded thoughtfully. "And what about your independence? You've been on your own for some time. How are you adjusting to living with a family with rules and expectations?" "It's an adjustment," Lily admitted. "Sometimes I still wake up at night thinking I need to move locations for safety. Sometimes I still hide food in my room just in case." She glanced at Michael apologetically. They hadn't discussed these habits. "But Mr. Reynolds and Ethan understand. They give me space when I need it, but they're always there when I'm ready to talk or need help." "And what do you want for your future, Lily?" This question gave her pause. For so long, her future had extended only to the next meal, the next safe place to sleep. Now, possibilities stretched before her like an open road. "I want to finish. School, she said slowly. Go to college, and then I want to help build the Starlight Initiative, the project Mrs. Reynolds started, a place for girls like me to find safety and opportunity. She met the judge's eyes directly. I want to make sure other kids don't have to fight as hard as I did just to exist. Judge Martinez's expression remained professional, but her eyes softened almost imperceptibly. Thank you, Lily. You may return to your seat. The rest of the hearing passed in a blur. The judge reviewed the paperwork, asked Jennifer a few clarifying questions, and then straightened her papers decisively. Having reviewed all testimony and documentation, I find it in the best interest of the minor, Lillian Grace Bennett, to grant temporary guardianship to Michael Reynolds for a period of 1 year, with the option to petition for permanent guardianship or adoption at that time. She looked directly at Lily. This arrangement provides the stability and support Lillian needs, while also giving everyone time to ensure it's the right permanent solution. She struck her gavel once. So ordered. It was done. Simple as that. Lily felt Ethan's arms wrap around her in an exuberant hug, heard Michael and Jennifer exchanging relieved congratulations, saw Pastor Jim giving her a thumbs up from the back row. But it all seemed distant, muffled by the roaring in her ears. Not fear or anxiety, but a strange, unfamiliar feeling of security, of belonging. Outside the courthouse, the spring sun had broken through Boston's clouds, warming the stone steps where their impromptu celebration continued. Pastor Jim was telling stories about Lily's fierce protection of younger kids at the shelter. Jennifer was discussing Westbridge Academy's fall semester with Michael. Ethan was practically vibrating with excitement, already planning a welcome to the family officially dinner. Amid the commotion, Lily stepped away for a moment, needing space to process. She found a quiet spot by a flowering dogwood tree, its white blossoms catching the sunlight. "Quite a day," Michael said, joining her after a few minutes of respectful distance. Lily nodded, words momentarily beyond her. "Overwhelming?" he asked, gently. "A little," she admitted. "Good overwhelming, though." They stood in comfortable silence, watching a pair of squirrels chase each other around the tree trunk. "I've been meaning to give you something," Michael said eventually, reaching into his jacket pocket. "I found it among Sarah's things." He handed her a small velvet pouch. Inside was a delicate silver necklace with a star-shaped pendant, identical to the one embroidered on her scarf. "Sarah gave these to girls who had graduated from her mentorship program," Michael explained. "It was meant to be a reminder that they always carried light within them, no matter where life took them." Lily ran her finger over the smooth silver surface, feeling the weight of its symbolism. "I never graduated from anything." "I think surviving on your own for 3 years more than qualifies," Michael said, "and Sarah would have agreed." He hesitated, then continued. "There's something else you should know. The Starlight Initiative. We break ground next month. The board approved the full funding yesterday, including Robert's restitution. We've secured the property in Dorchester that Sarah originally wanted." "That's amazing," Lily said, genuine excitement breaking through her emotional overwhelm. "And I was hoping you'd consider being part of the planning committee. As Sarah wrote in her notes, who better to design a home for girls who've experienced homelessness than someone who truly understands their needs?" Lily felt a surge of purpose, of rightness. "I'd like that. I have ideas already." "I bet you do." Michael smiled. "You know, when Ethan first told me about the girl with the red scarf who gave him her only food, I never imagined where that thread would lead us, how it would change all our lives." "Me neither," Lily admitted. "That day in Copley Square, I thought I was just helping a lost kid. I had no idea I was finding my way home." A call from Ethan interrupted their moment. "Dad, Lily, come on. Martha's making a special lunch to celebrate." As they walked back to join the others, Lily felt the weight of the star pendant in her hand, a promise, a responsibility, a connection to a woman she'd met only once, but whose legacy had changed the course of her life. In that moment, she made a silent vow to honor Sarah's vision, to make the most of this second chance and someday to pass along to another girl in need the most valuable gift she'd received. Not shelter or education or material comfort, but the knowledge that She was worthy of them. That she belonged. 6 months later, on a crisp November morning, Lily stood beside Michael and Ethan on a vacant lot in Dorchester, watching as construction crews broke ground on the Starlight Sanctuary. The architectural plans, refined with Lily's input, called for a 3-story building with 20 private rooms, classrooms, counseling spaces, a library, computer lab, and art studio. As the ceremonial first shovel pierced the earth, Lily fingered the star pendant she now wore daily, alongside her beloved red scarf. The girl who once had nothing but the clothes on her back was now helping create a place where other girls like her would find safety, opportunity, and most importantly, belief in their own worth. "What are you thinking?" Ethan asked, noticing her pensive expression. Lily looked around at the gathered crowd. Michael standing tall and proud, Martha dabbing tears from her eyes, Pastor Jim with his supportive smile, Jennifer and the Westbridge teachers who had embraced her as a promising student. Even Walter and some of the other folks from the shelter who had come to witness this moment. "I'm thinking about connections," she said thoughtfully. "How one small moment, giving a piece of bread to a lost boy, can set off a chain of events that changes everything. How people come into our lives at exactly the right moment, even if we don't recognize it at the time. Like destiny," Ethan suggested. Lily smiled. "Maybe, or maybe just the natural result of compassion. One act of kindness creating ripples that keep spreading outward." As the ceremony concluded and people began to disperse, Lily lingered, gazing at the freshly turned earth that would soon support a building designed to change lives. She thought of all the girls who had passed through these doors in the years to come, girls who, like her, had known hunger and fear and loneliness. Girls who would find here not just shelter, but possibility. "Ready to go home?" Michael asked, joining her with Ethan. Lily nodded, looping her arm through Ethan's and falling into step beside the 2 people who had become her family not by blood, but by choice. The most powerful kind of connection there is. "Yes," she said, with the quiet certainty of someone who finally knew exactly where she belonged. "Home sounds perfect." Dear listeners, we hope Lily's journey from Boston's streets to finding a new family has touched your hearts. The power of a single act of kindness, giving away her only bread to a lost child, reminds us how small moments can change lives forever. If you've been moved by this story of hope, connection, and second chances, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel and like this video. We've prepared a special playlist with equally moving stories about unexpected family bonds and life-changing moments that you can find by clicking to your left. Every day we share powerful narratives that explore the depth of human experience. What touched you most about Lily and the Reynolds family? Let us know in the comments below. We read every single one. Until our next story, remember that compassion creates ripples.